You increase your odds of having good timing dramatically by just having timing at all, right? Just by showing up. I'll give you guys a bit of a background. So we surveyed, I think it was 6,000 leads. We put them all in the hands of telemarketers and we surveyed them. And the surveys were, did you buy a house? Where did you buy a house? These were the takeaways. Number one, 2.5% of the people had bought a house from that real estate company whose lead list we were calling on. 2.5%. That's been a national average of real estate lead conversion forever. The survey questions that were the money questions were, how many real estate companies did you call? And how many real estate agents did you actually get in the car with as a buyer? Average answer was 8. The average person calls every real estate company in town. They're on the lead list, but they're on everybody else's lead list. When we asked them, how did you choose the real estate agent that you ended up buying from? The one who they were working with when they were actually ready, willing, and able to buy. So they were shopping with an agent back in April, but they didn't have all their money together yet. Now it's October. This agent is the one. It wasn't rapport. It wasn't experience. It wasn't professionalism. It wasn't what company they worked for. It was none of that nonsense. It was right time, right place, timing. I'm done unless I call you at the right moment. There's no way of knowing what the right moment is. So let's call them every month and we increase our odds of being the right person in the right place at the right time. Think expansively about what people need. There's a story of somebody that in cold weather markets, they go out and they do a competent job at their job, but every year they load up in the summer on rock salt. And then when the winter comes, the very first snowfall, he drops it off on the front porch of every house he's ever sold. In your case, every house that you've leased, every house that we have under management. What if you did that? It has nothing to do with why they hired you. It just shows them that you've adopted them. People in your book don't get caught flat-footed at the first snowstorm because you took care of them. And what this guy said is that he cannot tell you how many examples in his career he's had of people who came home slipping and sliding, didn't prepare, wife is annoyed with the husband because it's his job to get the rock salt. He didn't get it in time. And then, pulling up to the driveway and being like, oh, she's going to kill me. And there's the bag of rock salt. Think expansively. Think creatively about how to give it to them and then execute. Just try not to get yourself sucked in with people who are looking for deals, because you're not going to be able to find deals. If you do run across somebody who wants to sell their house super cheap, you're probably running across somebody who's in financial trouble. And running across one of those once in a while is okay, but making a career out of finding people who are in deep distress wears at your soul. You don't want to go that route, I know people who spend all their time trying to find people that they can sort of oh, you've made a lot of bad financial decisions that got you here where you're behind on your taxes and you basically are losing your house. I'm going to help you make one more bad financial decision, which is trusting me, because you could get 200 grand for this house, but I'm going to tell you it's worth 140 and flip it to my investor client. And isn't that wonderful? We just found some poor person in a bad situation and capitalized on it. Just please recognize the fact that the entire realtor industry, which has been under attack by online discounters and online do-it-yourselfers and all kinds of business models that attacked realtors because the public thinks that realtors are substandard in general. They don't totally love the industry. There's all kinds of people always starting up businesses, try to attack the realtors and take them out. They charge too much, et cetera, and yet they're still here. The reason they're still here is the multiple listing service, my opinion, okay? The fact that that inventory is ubiquitous, the fact that they cooperate, all the realtors cooperate while they compete, giving every single seller one point of entry and multiple points of exit and distribution for their listing, and giving every buyer one point of entry to get all the inventory. That's what made that industry bulletproof for the last 25 years that it's been under attack.
This was a cool one. So I'm on the phone with Vance talking about something unrelated, and he brings up at the end of the phone call, hey, I talked to a investor that we work with here in Jacksonville. So at the end of the phone call, we were wrapping up a tenant placement, and I asked him, hey, you got anything else going on? This is Vance. Oh, yeah, well, I got my hands full with the house over in the Tampa area and, this, that, whatever, but I know you're in Jacksonville, so it's probably too far a drive for you, right? Ha ha. And so Vance said, oh, well, we have an office there. We've got a great team. I'll get him in touch with you, right? So Vance calls me up, and he mentions this to me, and he goes, it's located at 123 Main Street, right? So I can't remember the exact address. I go, 123 Main Street? That is literally in my neighborhood. Unbelievable. The neighborhood I personally live in Brandon, right outside Tampa. So I looked it up on Zillow and then immediately got shivers down my spine because that morning I was driving out of the neighborhood. I see somebody rehabbing a house. There's a laborer outside. So I walk up, I go in, leave my information in there. Please have the owner of this house contact me if you can.
Jerry, this was before Vance told you about it?
Day of, the morning of.
You independently went to that door. Vance independently pitched the same guy, and both of those things happened the same day.
Right. Well, but it's completely in Vance's wheelhouse that we're going to get this deal. It's one of those ones that gives you goosebumps. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of homes in between here and there. This one happens to be 3 homes away from my personal home where I live. The extra question is how you get the business. You got anything else going on? He wasn't going to mention it to Vance because Vance works in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think my favorite script of all time is what else do you have going on? That's going to become, I'm going to get that on a plaque on the wall. I wonder what this person thinks that in the same day, Renter's Warehouse hit him on 2 fronts. That was like an audition. Like you guys passed the audition. You got one guy in Jacksonville asking the question. You got one guy walking up to the property. What's the big takeaway on this? Number 1, ask the customer what else do you have going on. Number 2, you see a house that's being rehabbed. Maybe it's an investor. Walk up and say hello. And nobody was waiting for anything to come to you, right? You guys went out and took care of it and went after it yourself. So that's a great story. Awesome. And Vance is on here. Hey, I'm gonna unmute Vance in case he wants to chime in. There he is. What's up, Vance? Is this something you do on a regular basis where you get a customer and you figure right before you let him off the hook, you hit him with one more sort of pitch?
Yeah, I always do. Even when I rent to tenants, I always ask them, "Hey, are you looking to purchase in the next year or so?" And sometimes I get a yes, sometimes I get a no, or I'll think about it. But things change over a year.
So
yeah,
sometimes you can say just something great here. So sometimes you get yes, sometimes you get no. Anybody ever splash a drink in your face when you ask him, is there anything else I can help you with?
no.
So I'm saying I think there are people that are actually afraid. This whole thing that I've been harping on all year is like prospecting to total strangers can be painful, but there are ways to expand the relationship with somebody you already know where there isn't any rejection involved. There's just no. Sometimes they just told you, no, I'm good. Like, this is fine. I don't need anything else from you. But nobody's splashed a drink in your face. You're not doing anything that puts you at any kind of risk of being embarrassed or put down. You're just trying to see if you can extend this relationship a little bit further. And once in a while it comes through. And this is a great example.